In the last few lessons, you have seen that LLMs can not only generate text, but they can also solve math and reasoning problems. In this lesson, you'll learn about a technique called train of thought. With the aid of this technique, LLMs can solve even complex reasoning and logical problems. I'll go over the train of thought prompting approach and compare it with other approaches such as chain of thought and self-consistency. I'll walk you through an example of how you can use train of thought approach for creative writing. I'll start this lesson with an explanation of a game. This game is called Game 24 and sometimes it is also called 4 numbers. The idea of the game is that you're given 4 numbers and you need to use these basic operations to come up with an answer equal to 24. You can use each of these numbers only once. Let me show you the solution for these 4 numbers. The solution is 8 plus 2 is 10 times 3, which is 30, minus 6 is equal to 24, and there are additional solutions as well. Can you think of a solution for these 4 numbers? Let's check out the answer. So it's 9 times 8 divided by 7 minus 4, which is 24. Now, if you're wondering why am I talking about this game here, the reason is because it was used as one of the tasks to validate the tree of thought prompting approach. The tree of thought prompting approach was introduced in the paper titled Tree of Thoughts, Deliberate Problem Solving with Large Language Models. At the core, LLMs generate text by predicting the next token. Essentially, they go from left to right to produce the text. Complex problem solving and reasoning requires more than straightforward text generation. Tree of thought generalizes over the chain of thought approach. Basic idea is to organize the thoughts or ideas in a hierarchical or branching structure similar to a tree. The problem is broken down into simpler problems or steps. LLM then solves each simple problem or step by exploring the potential solutions. Author of this paper tested this approach on 3 types of problems: Game 24, creative writing, and mini crosswords. Authors have reported promising results with this approach. On Game of 24, Tree of Thoughts led to a success rate of 74%, up from 4% on GPT-4. Let's compare Tree of Thought approach with other approaches. Similar to chain of thought, Tree of Thought prompting breaks problems into smaller parts, but goes further by combining this with the ability to explore multiple solution paths in parallel, forming a tree instead of a single chain. In the context of tree of thought, these smaller parts are referred to as the thoughts. They may be considered as paths towards a solution. So far, you have learned about the simple prompting that does not apply any special technique or approach to get the desired results. This approach, for the lack of better term, is referred to as input-output prompting. This is a representation of chain of thought where the model is guided to follow steps provided in the form of few short examples. And in the last lesson, you learned about self-consistency, which is an extension of chain of thought approach. The idea is to generate multiple solutions and then use a voting mechanism to arrive at the final solution. And now comes the tree of thought. In the tree of thought, thoughts are created at each step of the problem. LLM then makes a choice. It picks up one thought to explore further. If this thought leads to suboptimal solutions or no solution at all, then the logic can backtrack to a different choice. So in this illustration, it would be this thought. And as shown in the illustration, eventually this evaluation of thoughts will lead to a solution via an optimal chain of thought. If this sounds confusing, don't worry, as it'll become clear once I'll walk you through an example, which I'm going to do next. This is an example of creative writing. Let's say you are responsible for creating a catchy description for a new product, a shoe that is to be launched. You would like to use an LLM to create the write-up, but at the same time, you would like to ensure that LLM's output aligns with your own writing style. Now, to get the LLM to generate the write-up, you can pass it the instructions. Let's look at a few simple instructions. Passage length that will be generated by the LLM need to be approximately 100 words. The title must contain a new you. First sentence must contain few of these words: motivation, workout, sports, and attractive. And the last sentence should motivate the reader to visit the product's website. You can easily provide these instructions as input to an LLM, and the LLM will generate an output that you may or may not like. The question is, how do you know if the LLM generated the best possible passage for the product? The answer is you don't know. And that is where tree of thought approach can work for you. Let me explain how you would get an LLM to generate a creative write-up using the tree of thought approach. The write-up generation process with tree of thought will be a chain of 4 sequential prompting tasks. With the first prompt, we will ask the LLM to generate k number of plans for generating the write-up with given instructions. And this will lead to the generation of multiple plans. In this example, I've requested for 3 plans. In the second prompt, we will ask the LLM to select the most promising plan out of the plans generated in the first step. This will lead to the selection of the best plan. With the third prompt, we will ask the LLM to generate n number of passages using the most promising plan. In this example, I requested for 3 passages to be created out of the best plan. In the last prompt, we will ask the LLM to select the best write-up out of the passages created in the last step. This final passage or write-up is the output from the LLM chain. This write-up is expected to be of good quality, and it is expected to meet all the requirements that were provided to the LLM by way of instructions in the prompt. We humans simplify a tough problem by breaking it into several smaller ones. Then we put together action plans to address these smaller problems. These plans are like thoughts. If one plan doesn't work, we try another, sometimes going back to a rejected one. Think of these thoughts or plans like a tree, and that's the idea behind the train of thought approach. It's a broader version of the chain of thought method. This technique significantly improves the performance of LLM for complex mathematical and reasoning problems and for creative writing. I shared with you an LLM chain-based solution for creative writing, wherein we created multiple plans for writing a catchy product description. Then we asked the LLM to select the best plan out of the ones created in the step 1. Then we asked the LLM to generate multiple write-ups using the best plan. And at the end, we asked the LLM to select the best write-up out of all the write-ups generated in the previous step. In the next hands-on lesson, you will design the prompts for this solution, and we'll see the execution of this chain in action.